as well as on YouTube, and you can as well send us your feedback through our SMS line, that is 23059. My name is Macharia, and Morning Live starts now. And Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna has been removed as the Secretary General of the party following a National Executive Council meeting held in Mombasa. The meeting, chaired by party leader Dr. Oburu Oginga, stated that the decision was reached after Sifuna allegedly defied the party's official positions contrary to the ODM party's constitution.
Deliberated on matters relating to the conduct of the Secretary General, Senator Edwin Sifuna. The NEC resolved to remove him from office with immediate effect in accordance with the party constitution and applicable laws. The NEC expressed grave concern over the rising levels of indiscipline within the party, particularly at the senior leadership level. The committee underscored that ODM is governed by its constitution, the rule of law, and collective decision-making through its duly constituted organs. Effectively, the Deputy Secretary General, Honorable me, yours truly, Catherine Omanyo, will act in this position until a substantive holder of the position.
At the same time, ODM party leader Oburu Oginga has slammed Party Secretary General Edwin Sifuna over what he termed as continuous opposition to the party's position while chairing the National Executive Committee meeting in Mombasa. Oburu called on the NEC members to discuss the conduct of the Party Secretary General, who he further accuses of undermining the existing leadership.
Very happy that when we pass resolutions here, some of the members of this committee, some of the members of the Central Committee, who are policy makers of this party, go out to say exactly the contrary of what we have agreed in committees. It is okay if other members of our party exercise democratic right to say what they like. But really it is not right for me as a party leader to go out and shout what was not agreed and what is my own personal view, and I go and say that it is my democratic right. If it is your democratic right, then there is chaos in the country. Democracy does not mean chaos. This party is a party like a club. When you join a club, you have to obey the rules of that club. You cannot disobey the rules of the club and you continue to pride yourself that I am the party leader of ODM and yet I contradict everything that ODM is saying officially. If you have anything that you agree with or you disagree with, this is a forum for you as a NEC. Raise those issues here. Let members decide. But once the members have decided, if you are in minority, the minority will have their right to say and the majority will have their way. That is the principle.
Now, elders who participated in the struggle for Kenya's second liberation in the Nyanza region have called for dialogue within the ODM party. Now, the respected elders known for their involvement in the liberation struggle alongside the church leaders urged party leaders to immediately halt the ongoing conflicts within ODM, describing the disputes as detrimental to key strategies and initiatives previously implemented by the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga for the benefit of unity and democracy. Speaking together, the leaders emphasized the need for in-depth discussions and reconciliations between the Siaya County Governor James Orengo, Homabay County Governor Gladys Wanga, and ODM leader Oburu Oginga to restore cohesion and solidarity within the party.
We have resolved inside the church that we are going to support and stand with Dr. Oburu as the party leader of ODM.
This is what I'm appealing to all our leaders, that let us come together. The team who is opposing Dr. Oburu Oginga and the team who is together with him, let us talk together as family. And if we talk together as a family, we will have a solution. But not to go to the news and then start fighting one another. We are dividing our party, which we are not supposed to divide. We are dividing our unity in our community, which we are not supposed to do that. So I'm appealing to our leaders to come together in one accord and talk together, because when we talk, the reason God will give us a solution how we can run this country and how we can stand strong in our party.
Our veterans, which I'm also a member, we want to say and call upon those who are trying to divide ODM to come together as a family so that we can sit down and find out their differences and iron them out before 2027. A house divided will fall, but if we are united, we will stand and we will face any situation.
Luo unity must be had, and I believe that they have said they are going to talk to Orengo, they are going to talk to the chairman, our patron, Oburu Odinga. We are going to talk to each and every leader and ensure that the gains that we have, which some other people have come and have enjoyed, we must not lose it.
Right now, from that, President William Ruto has defended his government's various strategies in northern Kenya, saying that they aim to develop the region after decades of marginalization. Speaking during the disbursement of the 375 million Kenya shillings in youth funds in Garissa County under the Nyota Program Initiative, President William Ruto highlighted projects in health, issuance of identification cards and investments in road and water infrastructure as key initiatives to promote development and equality in the area across the country. However, the president's visit to the northern Kenya was strongly criticized by ODM leader, the DCP leader, Rigathi Gachagua, who said the government has neglected the region in terms of development.
Shule moja hapa Garissa inaitwa Yuga Primary. Na karudi kiwanja cha ndege. Jana anasimama anasema 4.1 billion is a small money. The footprints of President Ruto's development in northern Kenya is visible as day and night the difference is.
Kwa hivyo wale watu ambao wanaongea mambo ya northern Kenya, kwanza kabisa watembee northern Kenya, tuwaone na waelewe Kenya vile iko. Wasiongee kwa press conference kwa Nairobi, wasiongee kwa retreat kwa hoteli, wakuje Garissa, Mandera, Wajia, watembee waelewe Kenya iko namna gani.
Nimesikia watu wengine wengi wanajaribu kunipatia mawaidha, sijui rais hangeenda, sijui rais angefanya kazi ingine. Wewe fanya hiyo kazi ingine. Mimi nakuja kufanya ya kazi ya hawa vijana.
Right now, the Gen Z protest will forever be etched in the nation's memory. The protest, the unrest, the lives lost, and the families left picking up the pieces to the victims' families who have been waiting and now demanding justice and compensation, arguing that court battles and investigations should not stand in the way of urgent financial support. The families held a peaceful march heading to Parliament and the Supreme Court to follow their petition outlining their grievances, including the need for the investigations on the protest.
In a nutshell, we are presenting a petition to Parliament to urge them for their support, so that being the legislators, let them also speak in unison or in unitarity towards supporting the presidential directive for compensation. We support the Professor Macharia Commission, but still have a greater pain with the judicial system.
Nikashutiwa, nilibegwa tu wa familia yetu na wakanitolea 160,000. Yenye mimi singe manage kutoa. Nikaekwa chuma. After hapo, mimi nilipona, lakini mimi siwezi enda kazi yangu kama kawaida. Yetu ndio maana nimekuja hapa kutetea haki yangu, nijue kama naweza pata haki yangu.
Nilikuwa nimetangulia mbele na mtoto amenifuata nyuma anasukuma mkokoteni. Wakati nilisonga nikasema wacha nitembea haraka, nimeona maaskari wametokea huko 56 wanaweza kunipata hapa na vile furuki iko nyuma. Sasa mimi sasa nilitembea kusonga, nasikia mlio ya risasi. Nikaangalia nyuma hivi. Na kumbe kijana yangu alikuwa kwa mkokoteni anasukuma, aliangalia nyuma na ndio risasi ilimpiga kwa mdomo. Ikatoka, alikuwa na mwenzake wakisukuma na ikachoma mwenzake hivi. Mwenye marehemu aliacha watoto wawili. Sasa hata vile ninaweza kuwapeleka kwa shule
Now, Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro has revealed that he is ready to engage in talks with county governors to ensure a contribution of 10 million Kenya shillings to launch a key initiative under the MPES system to make secondary education completely free. Speaking at a meeting with the Kenyan diaspora in London, United Kingdom, the MP proposed the formal consolidation of all bursary funds, saying that the amount will be sufficient to support all students in the country.
Are losing out and they are being locked out of our education system just because we cannot do such a thing. I believe there are many, and that is why I am just repeating, I don't want this agenda to be an election year agenda. The Kenyan budget is made in June. I want that issue to be done by that June, if not earlier, so that every Kenyan can get an opportunity to be a better workforce and to be a better provider of human capital. A student in Kenya requires around 35 shillings per day, for a meal per day. And they are in schools 185 days in a year. So we require around 6,500 shillings per year, per learner. And then we can top up something for the principals to do the other things they need to do in the schools, including employing BOM teachers.
Now, head teachers of secondary schools in Malava constituency, Kakamega County, have expressed their concerns about the implementation of the new competency-based education, that is CBE curriculum. Now, they warned that the curriculum might fail due to challenges such as inadequate infrastructure, shortage of teachers, and lack of learning materials. These concerns were raised during a meeting of head teachers convened by Malava MP David Ndakwa at the constituency offices. The head teachers also noted that some schools in the area lack sufficient land to support infrastructure development. In response, the MP emphasized the importance of collaboration with the Teachers Service Commission alongside head teachers to ensure successful implementation.
Maalum hatuna walimu. Tuweze kuwa na ushirikiano fulani na hiyo technical school ili wale instructors waweze kupata nafasi kufika katika shule zetu kutusaidia kufundisha hayo masomo.
You get to a school with a population, an enrollment of 700, sitting on a 2-acre piece of land. How can we offer the sports and arts pathway in changamoto? You will not therefore also expect much of the other facilities like the ICT labs, and yet the world is going digital. It has gone digital.
I will work closely with Minister of Education and TSC to advocate for adequate staffing, teachers' motivation, and the continuous professional development. You know, a motivated teacher is the backbone of quality education.
All right, moving on, Senate Deputy Speaker Kaduri Murungi has called on governors who refuse to appear before committees to resign immediately. Now, the Meru County Senator emphasized that it is a constitutional duty for governors to appear before the Senate Public Accounts and Investment Committee to provide explanations regarding the county fund usage. Senator Murungi added that the Senate has consistently been at the forefront in advocating for increased funding allocations to counties, stressing that the expectations from these leaders are high. Now, he further stated that if any governor is found soliciting bribes from senators, it is their duty to report it immediately so that decisive action can be taken.
Wakati tunajadiliana kwa mambo ya budget, governors huwa wanafurahi sana wakati tumekaa ngumu. Tunakaa ngumu wakati kamati ya budget ya National Assembly wakiteremsha pesa, sisi tunapiga nduru na tunakataa kupitisha mpaka waongeze pesa ya counties. Sasa niwaulize swali moja, tukiongeza pesa iende mingi kwa county, ni kwa nini msitumiwe pesa vizuri? Lakini niwaambie, hata ukijaribu namna gani, hakuna vile utaepuka kufika kwa Senate. Ukitaka usifike kwa Senate, njiuzuru mara moja, watu wako deputy governor achukue na yeye aendeleze kazi, sababu hata ukinjiuzuru hatutarudi uchaguzi. Katiba iruhusu turudi uchaguzi kwako. deputy governor yako atachukua nafasi. Wale mmekalia sana sababu nawajua governors. Mmekalia deputy wenu sana. Mpaka sasa nimetunga sheria, nimeleta sheria kwa Senate ndio iweze ninyi mpe pia deputy governors yenu kazi na muwape heshima. Kwa hivyo kama wewe unaona upasi kuuliza maswali vile unatumia pesa ya umma, unjuzuru, haina haja ukae katika ofisi ya umma because lazima uwe unaajibika.
Now let's talk about as Healthcare and Chief Executive Officer of the Social Health Authority, that is SHA, Dr. Massimo Ngangi, has revealed that the authority inherited a debt of 33 billion Kenya shillings from the National Hospital Insurance Fund, that is the NHIF. While being questioned by the investment committee, Mwangangi stated that the debt is still being verified before any payments are released. Additionally, the committee chair, Caleb Amisi, raised questions regarding the transfer of 15 billion Kenya shillings from NHIF to SHA, which the government's chief accountant had flagged as potentially unlawful.
A lot for this nation who deserve a very good health care. How can we take care of them? Lastly, Madam CEO, I come from Wajir. A lot of health facility in Wajir is closed. I don't know if you're aware. I have really followed up. I want to know today, it's good to have met you today. Who's the right person to reopen these facilities now that they are compliant and they have done everything? How do we help them? Because a lot of queries is coming to us as their members of parliament. They travel all the way from Wajir to come here with no help. How do we assist them? Thank you.
Chair, maybe you can...
Those are many issues, Mheshimiwa.
Two questions.
No,
just
two
questions that I picked.
Mheshimiwa.
So that she can answer all of them.
An additional one?
Yeah.
Yes.
On the same.
How many?
Chair.
One or
just one.
Okay, then Mheshimiwa, one, and then we finish.
Chair, the issue of giving services, then later on you say, yes, I have given this, come back and we talk on how we were supposed to do. On the issue of employment, as my colleague has said, employing people before giving them contract, or giving services, them giving services before you telling them what they are supposed to do. What was guiding the management? What criteria or what tools were used by the management so for them to give out these services before having contracts in place, which was supposed to give you guideline on what to do, who was supposed to do what was supposed to be paid. So what were you using to give these services?
Elders from the Rift Valley have issued a stand warning against hate-driven politics. The Ufa Rift Valley Elders Council expressed deep concern over rising political tension in the region, questioning that toxic political behavior could threaten the peace and that communities have worked hard for building over many years. Now, the warning comes just days after the heated verbal clash between DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua and Nakuru Governor Susan Kihika over a visit planned by the Nakuru County Opposition Coalition. Later this month, speaking in Nakuru after a council meeting, the elders said that aggressive rhetoric and extreme political stances could weaken stability and cohesion in the Rift Valley. Peter Cheragon, Secretary of the Council, urged leaders to exercise caution in their statements, noting that some remarks have caused fear among communities that have long lived in peace and understanding. Now, the elders encouraged politicians to pursue respectful politics, dialogue and unity to safeguard peace and strengthen national cohesion.
Kenya hii ni yetu sisi wote. Na tunajua vile mambo imeenda kiharibiwa na watu wale hawataki tukae na amani. Mimi nataka kusema hivi. Kila mtu na kila kabila na kila mwananchi wa Kenya ajue kukitokea mambo baya hakuna mtu hataumia. Kila mtu ataumia. Lakini tunasema hivi. Kusosea watu na kulete shida ya ukabila na kusema hao ndio your enemies. Hao ni adui zako na halali kwako na hakuna kitu amekufanya. Hiyo ni kitu ambao hata Mungu amekataa.
We believe and respect our leaders because we elect them through the ballot. But the toxic utterances have left the Rift Valley people in dismay. The peoples of this nation, the peoples of this region have been so peaceful in the recent years. Now it has developed a time when they have been charged. The Rift Valley Council of Elders does not know what one term means, does not know what two term mean, does not know what 3 term or 5 term mean. We believe in this country.
Naomba mimi viongozi wote kutoka MCA, kwenda MP, kwenda governor, kwenda senators, kuendelea juu, wanapoongea wajue watu wanasikia.
Now, traders in Nairobi pipeline area have complained of harassment and eviction by county enforcement officers since the official opening of the AIC pipeline charged by President William Ruto. And the traders say they have struggled to earn a living since the event last Sunday, claiming they no longer have a place to carry out their daily business. They allege that county officers have been forcefully removing them from the area, making it difficult for them to sustain their livelihoods. Now, the affected traders are now appealing to President William Ruto to intervene and ensure they are allowed to return to their businesses' locations, saying their source of daily income have been disrupted.
On Thursday tuliambiwa kibada isirale hapa. Sisi tukafanya heshima, tukatii sheria, tukatoa vibada. Sasa kurudi tulifurushwa, tukaambiwa tusirudi hapa. Unaona kumewekwa segenge hapa, maua inapandwa. Hiyo side akasema ni yake, mhubiri wa hii church AIC.
Tangu akuje aende tujarudishiwa vibanda, tukuli tunashinda hapa usiku na mchana, hatujui nini kinaendelea, tuambiwi.
So hii ni siku ya 6 hatujakula kitu, hatujapata pesa yeyote yenye tunafanya biashara. Watoto wanasoma hapa kwa shule na watoto wengi leo hawajaenda shule sababu hatujafungua kazi.
Moving on to some sad story, grief and sorrow have engulfed Emikit village in Songoso Ward, Narok South constituency, following the death of a 14-year-old girl after an alleged severe beating. The girl, Paris Chepngeno, a grade 7 student, reportedly lost consciousness while being punished by her mother with the assistance of her siblings over domestic mistakes. Now, the local chief, Bernard Bunei, has warned parents to exercise patience and seek non-harmful methods when disciplining children. Those involved have been arrested and are being held at Ololunga police station.
Huyu mama wa hii familia aliweza kuchapa mtoto, ama aliniambia yeye mwenyewe, aliniambia ya kwamba aliweza kuchapa mtoto kulingana na ile makosa alikuwa amefanya, na alipofanya hivyo aliweza mtoto akaweza kusirai hapo.
Tumetatanishwa sana kwa hii kifo. Sasa naimisa wananchi tujaribu kutulia. Kama mtoto amefanya kosa, kama wananchi, kama sisi kama nyinyi kama wananchi ama wakaaji wa hapa, tuweze kuripoti hiyo makosa ili sheria iweze kufuatwa. Msichukue ya sheria.
Right, moving on, the process of dueling Maru and Nyeri town road to Meiga, a bypass from Kiamuru, Gidiru, Duguma, Kirimara, Kibiruini, Mwega, and upgrading the Chania Bridge intersection of covering 40 kilometers has kicked off. This is meant to decongest Nyeri town, create jobs, improve traffic flow, and open new roads for easy accessibility. And yesterday, the public participation, which involved environmental and social impact assessment, held at Gatitu Trading Center in Gatitu, Muruguru ward, where participants supported the project. Nyeri town MP, that is Honorable Maina, was among the leaders who attended the civic education meeting. However, urged local residents to keep off politics and embrace the crucial infrastructure development.
Members of the public, basically on a civic education mission, so that they understand, number one, the scope and the size of the road. The width of the road from Marwa to Nyeri town all the way to Moiga is supposed to be 60 meters. The existing corridor is 34 meters, and therefore we will need to acquire another 26 meters. The bypass is an entirely new road requiring 90 meters. So we have to acquire completely new land or green land of 90 meters. And therefore, in terms of those whose homesteads are going to be affected by the project, they've been told about the enumerators will go around, assess whatever developments are on the road, be it on the proposed road area to be acquired for the road, be it a fence, be it a house, be it trees, be it coffee, and any other development that is there, and how it is going to be recorded. They've also been told that they have to produce the ownership documents so that the enumerators can verify the names of the ownership documents. Of course, we have an issue about land that is under succession. The colonial villages where the issuance of titles have not been completed, the institutional land like schools, churches, and other public amenities where titles have not been issued. But we've agreed with the Nyumba Kumi and the National Government Administration Officers, especially the assistant chiefs, that they will take this opportunity to enumerate all those who do not have their title deeds. And then he did accept. And now we can see that we have actually begun the process of being documented and captured in the country's planning and budgeting cycle. The other happy thing about it is that Wananchi here unanimously support this project. And therefore, what we have agreed is that we will work with the enumerators and cooperate very closely so that even we can complete the exercise before the month of August, which is the period that the contractor has been given to complete the work. We would like to complete early so that by the commencement of the next budgeting cycle, we are already beginning to.
Now, the Boda Boda ambulance program in Laikipia County has sparked intense debate among residents, with many questioning its safety, especially for the expectant mothers facing emergencies. While county officials say the motorcycle ambulances are intended to improve access to healthcare services in remote areas with poor road networks, some residents have criticized the initiative. They argue that it brings back memories of past times when women in labor were transported on bicycles, and they doubt the feasibility of the program given the poor state of roads in the region.
Hizi sasa hizi makipikipi wamenunua, hata si hakuna safety ya kina mama, kwa sababu sasa hiyo sasa hata mama ni mgonjwa, pengine ni mjamzito, inamuangusha. Sasa naona hiyo ni mambo imepitwa na wakati.
Sasa mimi nashindwa, hii hata gari ya puda ni mzuri kushinda gari na off-road na pikipiki.
Nimeona ni kama vitu za kusaidia wamama wajawazito, lakini zile vitu nikashangaa ni mchezo aina gani, kwa sababu ni pikipiki mara imebeba kitu ingine nyuma ndio kubebea mgonjwa. Hii pikipiki sidhani itakuwa ina watu ambao watahudumia huyo.
Magavana, hata gavana yule alikuwa mbele, alikuwa ameleta BJ50, gari ambayo iwezi hata weza kubeba watu wawili, kibeba watu wawili wanaanguka. Sasa mwingine hapa ametuletea nduthi boda sijui ambulance. I am very disappointed as a person.
Ambulance, kununua ambulance ya kubeba kina mama, kwani ni pesa ngapi? Wanadia kubeba kina mama wetu na bodaboda. Ati ni ambulance ya bodaboda inavuta trailer kama ya miogo bwana. Kama mkokoteni. Hiyo ni aibu.
Shida ikitokea, mtu huangalia chochote itamsaidia. So to me, hata kama ni mimi ama bibi yangu atapata mimba, na hiyo ndio ikuwe the means of ya kumpeleka mpaka hospitali, mimi ninaomba na ikipatikana.
Alright, that particular story takes us on a first breather here on EBN Morning Live. But when we come back, we'll tell you what exactly the newspapers are saying. All right, welcome back to the program, and just in case you're joining us, this is Morning Live. My name is Macharia. Let's take a look on what's making headlines in the dailies today, and I'm having the Daily Nation newspaper, and of course, as well with the Standard newspaper this particular morning, dated the 12th day of February 2026. Now, top stories is, Sifuna yesterday was actually removed from the SG position in the ODM party. Now, in regards to that, Edwin Sifuna has actually taken to his social media saying, and I quote, "Following yesterday's event, I have been overwhelmed by the messages of support and encouragement. I will speak to the press this morning to address some of your concerns. Asanteni sana, God bless." End of quote. Those are the words of Edwin Sifuna. He has taken to his social media accounts. He is expected to address the press in regards to his removal from office as the SG of ODM party. All right. Now let's take a look on what the Daily Nation has to say in regards to this particular story and ODM, the fallout, ODM rebels plan, meetings, and Defiant Sifuna fired. Edwin Sifuna, 8-year tenure as ODM Secretary General was cut short yesterday after party leader Buru Ginga was, moved to assert his authority following a rebellious streak by the Nairobi Senator. The Orange Party's plan to leave the Azimio coalition could also trigger a tussle for lucrative House minority post. That's on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. And of course, next steps, the Daily Nation says that a National Delegates Convention on March 27, the meeting expected to endorse pre-election coalition deal with the UDA and of course begin formal withdrawal from Azimio coalition. Now the party protest actions by retired President Kenyatta to name Kalonzo Musyoka Azimio coalition leader, and of course the interim Secretary General, that is Edwin Sifuna, Sifuna's deputy Catherine Omanyo named acting Secretary General until a substantive holder is elected. All right, that's a story as well on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. Now let's take a look on other stories making headlines in the Daily Nation. Sakaja turns to Ruto for help in running Nairobi. That's a story on the front page, and you can find that exclusively on page 7. It continues to say that Governor Johnson Sakaja has acknowledged a deal with President William Ruto's government to on garbage collection, road works, sewer connections, and other core county functions, but rejected the suggestion of a Nairobi Metropolitan Services style takeover. That's as well on page 7 of the Daily Nation. Now, there is a crisis that is currently escalating in regards to drought in the northern region of the country, and the drought scars school meals, keep learners at home. And from Baringo to Kano, Uasin Gishu, Mombasa, and Kilifi counties, which have been hit by drought, a bowl of githeri or porridge is the ultimate incentive for school enrollment. But the failure of short rains seasons last year has aggravated a food shortage crisis, especially in the arid and conflict-scared areas of Turkana and Baringo. Now, the hunger-stricken children at the school feeding program is their only hope for a meal, and with that, also, fluttering classrooms, attendance in dwindling. Now, the government says an estimated 3.3 million people face acute food insecurity. That's a story on page 2 and 3 of the Daily Nation. Of course, it is quite unfortunate, You can't find food at home, and as well you can't find that food in school as well. Right? It's quite unfortunate. That the government ought to do something in regards to the drought crisis that is currently escalating in several parts of the country. All right, that's also exclusively on page 2, where it says empty plates, empty desks struggle to keep learners in school as meals dwindle. Right, moving on, how 7 bills approved by Cabinet will transition the education sector. Still on matters education, now the government has officially set in motion a radical transformation of the education sector by approving 7 bills, including the merger of key parastatals and fundamental shift in the placement, funding and assessment of university and TVET students. Now this follows the Cabinet's adoption of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform recommendations in 2023. Now, although the bills were drafted in 2024, they had not yet been approved by the Cabinet for presentation to Parliament. The objective of the legislative changes is to eliminate long-standing duplication of roles, administrative overlaps, and systematic inefficiencies that have plagued the Ministry of Education for years. That's a story as well on page 3 on matters education. On page 4, matters politics, where ODM kicks out Sifuna, targets Uhuru and Kalonzo allies in House purge. That's a story as well on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. Now let's take a look on what's making headlines in the Standard newspaper this particular morning. And of course, you will note that in the front pages of this particular newspaper, as we've seen the Standard, the Daily Nation, Taifa Leo, and of course the Star. Top story on the front page is actually the removal of the ODM SG, that is Edwin Sifuna, who is now taking that particular office in an acting capacity. Was his deputy when he was holding that particular office, and that is Catherine Umanyo, who is now the acting until they go to an NDC, that is the National Delegates Convention, that will be on March 27. That's when they will elect an official SG for that particular party. Now let's take a look on what's making headlines on the Standard newspaper. Now, the Standard says certified for boldness, and there's a picture there of Edwin Sifuna and Kennedy Amiani says he is a supporter. ODM supporter says, and I quote, "We are happy as the Mulembe nation that finally the battle lines have been drawn. Now as a region we activate the grand plan of fully abandoning ODM." That's Kennedy Amiani, who's an ODM supporter. And I don't know, what this actually means for ODM. All right. Now ODM has plunged into open revolt after Secretary General Edwin Sifuna, who doubles up as the Nairobi senator, was ousted for challenging covert talks with President William Ruto. The party's executive committee said it had had enough of his dissent, replacing him with Busia women rep, that is Catherine Umanyo, on an interim basis. But the purge has exposed deep fixtures with allies accusing the leadership of silencing critics and mortgaging the party independence ahead of the 2027. Now the decision has drawn supporters into disarray, with many saying they will consider their stand after their leaders give a way forward. That's a story as well on page 4 and 5 of the Standard newspaper. Now let's take a look at that particular story on page 4. Now the Standard says that Sifuna has been bold and unapologetic over his decisions to oppose the endorsement by a section of leaders to support President William Ruto's 2027 bid, declaring that the party will field its own presidential candidate. Now he has also questioned that the talks with the UDA are, and maintained that the party had not entered into a deal with Ruto's party regarding his re-election. He is among the voices that have demanded the full implementation of the 10-point agenda agreed between former party leader Raila Odinga and Ruto before Raila's death. It focused on public interest issues and was founded on the values of good governance. Now on board, Sifuna has now released that particular office for his Linda Mwananchi team which is expected to hold a rally in Kitengela on a Sunday to respond to his ouster. Now, speakers listed by Sifuna include Governor James Orengo, Babu Owino, Godfrey Otsotsi, Richard Onyonka, Omondi Karoli, Borongo Obadia, and Gisairo Cleve. Now also on the tour will be Anthony Kibagendi, Brian Weke, Eric Mogeni, Wanami Wamboka, Caleb Amis, Majimbo Kalasinga, Patrick Macau, Joshua Kimilu, Wilberforce Oundo, and Danson Mwashako. Now the Fiery Senator also boasts significant support among several ODM supporters and leaders. Among those who have been rallying support for him are Kisumu Women Rep Ruth Odinga, Siaya Governor James Orengo, Deputy Party Leader Godfrey Otsotsi, Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino, and Kisii Senator Richard Onyonka, among others. Now, a source who attended the meeting told the Standard the truth is among those who are advocating for the party not to dismiss members' efforts to reach her however futile. Now, the dream of the late former ODM leader of uniting warring factions and bolstering the party's support has suffered a huge blow after the committee's decision caused reverberations within the party. Now, the removal of the long-serving Sifuna adds another layer of ODM's woes and is expected to deepen the cracks within the party, though not in the eyes of Oburu and his allies. Right? And what does this actually mean to the Muleme Nation? Now, in Vihiga County, home to ODM Deputy Party Leader Godfrey Otsotsi, tension simmered as party supporters awaited direction from their leaders. Otsotsi, a close ally to Sifuna, had earlier been put on notice by a section of the party over his stance on Oburu's decision. Residents gathered in small groups in Chavakali and Mbale discussing the implications. Now, political analyst David Owino noted that Western Kenya's contribution to ODM survival and the national stature cannot be understated. All right. Now, Sifuna, Otsotsi, Owino, and a section of the party leaders recently launched the Linda Mwananchi Tours, which kicked off in the Busia County last Sunday and set for Kitengela this coming Sunday. All right. Now, inside heated NEC meet to remove Sifuna. That's a story as well on page 5. And the cracks in ODM deepened yesterday as a faction led by party leader Oburu Oginga announced the removal of its controversial Secretary General Edwin Sifuna. Now, Sifuna's ouster had long been anticipated, but carrying it out proved the Herculean task for the party's National Executive Council in Mombasa due to its far-reaching ramification. That's a story on page 5 in regards to what happened yesterday during the NEC meeting of the ODM. Right. Now let's take a look on other stories making headlines in the Standard newspaper this particular morning. And farmers watch in despair as area's food basket dries. And this is a story that has been making headlines for the better part of this particular week. You actually saw that the deputy president, that is Professor Kithure Kindiki, actually gave out this disbursed 4 billion in support for this drought crisis. And one would ask the question, do we need food relief, or we need a permanent solution for this particular crisis? Right now, after hours of driving along Turkana's dusty, rocky roads under the scorching sun, where the landscape stretches in shades of brown and dry shabab, the sight of crop farming comes as a welcome surprise. Nestled in the harsh terrain is a vibrant patch of green, where a group of energetic youth are busy tending their vegetables, armed with watering cans and farm tools. They move between rows and driving vegetables, their laughter and a chatter cutting through the still heat. Now the farm stands in sharp contrast to the surrounding drought-hit environment, a symbol of resilience and innovation. Now in a region often associated with drought, insecurity and pastoral struggles, these lush green farms tell a different story. Now among the youth of Ekale and Ekwam from Morulam village, who spent most of their time tending vegetables, considering, the quote-unquote gold of the drought-stricken county. Now, but limited water levels in the borehole who was donated by well-wishers remain their biggest challenge. Gunshots occasionally pierce air in Morulam, a non-banditry hotspot in Turkana East, yet this doesn't deter them. For years, residents here were largely dependent on livestock keeping, but frequent cattle raids, prolonged droughts, and shrinking pasture have forced many to turn to crop farming along the Kerio River basin. And there is a picture there of Abdirizak Gabo gathers carcasses for burning in Hawara village near Ramu town, that is in Mandera County. Right, and it's quite unfortunate. You can actually see the carcasses right there of the animals. And drought solutions, at least 1,500 households is the population being supported by the Kenya Red Cross to farm in Turkana. All right. Now take a listen on what John Buddy actually had to say in this regards. And Buddy says we can't gauge drought's economic toll yet. Now, despite a worsening drought that has left over 3 million Kenyans vulnerable, the government says it has not yet fully assessed the project economic impact as the country grapples with the dry spell. Treasury CS John Buddy outlined the government's robust response, pledging billions in emergency funds while warning about potential economic disruptions in the rains failed to arrive as expected. If left unaddressed, the drought could affect agriculture and gross domestic product, that is GDP, especially in key productive regions. However, current projections maintain GDP growth at 5.3% in 2026, assuming normal rains. Now, this comes at the back of a heavy scrutiny from critics who have faulted the government, noting that disbursed funds are not adequate for drought response. And according to former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, the 4.1 monthly expenditure approved on
watching EBN TV, transforming your world. You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
All right, I do apologize for that technical hitch. We're taking a look on the food insecurity and as well what one may term as the drought crisis in some various parts of the country. And official reports show that millions of Kenyans are now experiencing acute food insecurity across up to 23 counties, with 10 to 12 counties in alert or alarm phases, including Mandera, Wajir, Kwale, and Kilifi counties. Now, the crisis has led to widespread livestock deaths, rising acute malnutrition, water shortages, crop failures, and increased risks of disease outbreaks and resource-based conflicts in pastoral communities. Now, this comes as President William Ruto undertakes the 3-day tour of parts of northern Kenya to roll out the Nyota Fund. Now, following a request from State Department for special programs, Mbadi said that the government has allocated a total of 9.5 billion Kenya shillings for drought response. This includes initial 3 billion Kenya shillings out of requested 6 billion, followed by 2.5 billion Kenya shillings in November and 3.5 billion in December. All right, now let's take a drought at a glance, where 3.3 million Kenyans have been affected, and up to 23, that is about 11 currently worst hit counties, have been implicated, and the alert or rather alarm counties are 10 to 12, including Mandera, Wajir, Kwale, and Kilifi counties. And earlier estimated in January 2026 showed some 2.1 million people in ASOL regions were affected, and failure of October-December 2025 short rains worsening since January 2026. And the funding and response total allocated so far is 9.5 billion Kenya shillings, and 30 billion Kenya shillings is the initial tranche, and 2.5 billion Kenya shillings that is in the month of November, 3.5 billion in the month of December. And food support is actually allocated 3 billion, and livestock feed 500 million Kenya shillings. Elgeyo Marakwet disaster 54 million Kenya shillings. Likely additional funding of 4 billion is actually under consideration. Now let's take a briefing on these counties in regards of the expenditure. Now let's start with Meru County, where theft of power cost the country 1 billion Kenya shillings. Now, illegal power connections and theft of meters and transformers in Meru Igembe South region cost Kenya Power up to 1 billion annually, officials have revealed. Now, during a tour of the affected area by Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary, that is Opio Wandai, the Kenya Power Meru branch operations and maintenance manager Gideon Mbioki said geospatial mapping exposed massive losses, including numerous stolen transformers, resulting in about 100 million lost monthly revenue. All right, now in Mombasa, police assure Muslims of security. And police in Mombasa have assured the Muslim community of tight security during Ramadan, which begins next week. Now, meeting with Muslim leaders, officers pledged to deploy ununiformed and plainclothes personnel to curb juvenile gangs armed with pangas. Mombasa Deputy County Commander Dafala Ibrahim warned that police will use firearms if gangs attacked, blaming parents for lax supervision. Now, recent panga attackers have disrupted businesses and threatened economic growth in the region, with the leaders including Alamin Somo and Makdadi Hamed urging residents to support security efforts and protect victims. Police promised round-the-clock patrols to enhance security. Now in Bungoma County, Kibabi wins 2 million Kenya shillings research grant. Bungoma-based Kibabi University has won 2.1 million Kenya shillings, that is 12,000 euros grant from the Commonwealth Sustainable Cities Coalition to advance research and sustainable urbanization. That was led by Dr. Patrick Owoche, Senior Lecturer and Order Director. The project includes Dr. Walter Orlando, a Maseno University Urban Planning Expert, and Dr. Dennis Gishuki, an IT specialist. That's in Bungoma County. Now in Laikipia County, called to supply hospitals with drugs, residents of Igwamiti Ward in Laikipia West constituency have urged the Laikipia County government to allocate funds towards purchasing drug and modern equipment instead of building new health facilities. Now they shared these views during public participation on this year's county fiscal strategy paper on Nyahururu Stadium. The county plans to spend 3 billion on health in 2026-2027 with 1.8 billion for staff salaries and allowances, 255 million Kenya shillings for operations and maintenance, and as well as 905 million Kenya shillings for development. That's in Laikipia County. Now let's take a look on Kericho County, where traders locked out of market. Groceries traders in Kericho town have yet to begin operations at the 240 million Kenya shillings Kericho Municipal Market days after its official opening on February 6th by Governors Eric Mutai and Stephen Sang, built for over 600 traders. Now, the market remains closed despite assurances that stalls will be immediately occupied. Long-time traders who vacated the site for construction say they were stranded after uncertain about their future. Evelyn Lagat, a 20-year-old seller, and Irene Okumu said they continue selling produce in the open, exposed to sun and rain, while urging the county government to open the market. Collins Begon accused influential individuals of interfering with the regional traders list. That's some of the things that are happening across our countries. Now on page 6 is stories to do with the Nairobi boss Johnson Ada Sakaja, and where he says that he seeks help from State House in a deal similar to Badi's tenure. That's on page 6 of the Standard newspaper. Now on page 7 of the Standard as well, DPP wants son, 2 lawyers and pastor will dock over forged will. That's a story on page 7 on matters corridors of justice. Matters to do with healthcare. SHA won't pay for overseas treatment until the rules are ready. Now Kenyans who have already sought treatment overseas will have to foot their bills. The Social Health Authority, that is SHA, will not finance their treatment until the process to procure services abroad is ready. SHA Chief Executive Officer Mary Mwangangi yesterday told the National Assembly the process includes getting into contractual engagement with hospitals and ensuring the facilities have local agents for referrals. But the committee members raised concerns that Kenyans who have traveled abroad for treatment may be stuck because some of the hospitals have declined to offer them services until they get paid their dues. Now, Dr. Mwangangi said that those who are already abroad could not be helped since the hospitals are not yet contracted. She told the committee that the defunct National Health Insurance Fund, that is NHIF, owed the overseas hospitals 146.3 million Kenya shillings. And as well as on page 8, Ruto's 4.73 trillion budget hits harsh reality as income lag and debt soars. All right. Now we're up to speed. That's making headlines in the newspapers this particular morning, or what the newspapers have to say in regards to the governance of this particular country, and as well as you're up to speed. That's making headlines from across 47 counties. And what you're waking up to this morning as far as news is concerned. My name is Martin Macharia. It is exactly 12 minutes past the top of the hour. Thank you so much for keeping me company until this particular minute. We'll continue keeping tabs with these developing stories, and we'll be bringing you in a subsequent bulletins later on in the day at 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 7 p.m., and of course 9 p.m. My name is Martin Macharia. Have yourself a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of your viewing, and as always, let's do this again when God says we do.